Hikaru gnashing at the teeth, having just lost a very bitter game
a
to
St. Louis
MBL.
shirt.
He's got his St. Louis shirt. Okay, channeling with us, and a Sicilian, close Sicilian. The knight E2, knight G1 E2 has been a close Sicilian.
Knight F6, I'm expecting G3.
G3?
Exactly.
Yeah. I didn't think he would go for a mainline knight or...
No.
No.
But he has still kept in reserve the opportunity of playing D2, D4, and going into open Sicilian.
There goes
Never
that idea.
mind.
There goes that idea. No, I didn't
Bishop
expect him to go for anything
No.
like that.
It's a clever move order with the knight f6 because the bishop wants to go to e3. Well, generally it goes to e3, but with knight f6...
Bishop G5,
Actually, I'm very surprised
difference.
about this move, this Bishop G5. I'm not familiar with
Right.
it.
Well, normally
So
it's e3 or f4 you switch plans, but...
Right. Normally there's some H2, H3, you park your bishop back here, but now with the bishop on G5, Queen D2, oops, I was about to say Queen D2, angling for bishop H6, a very different approach by Levon Aronian for this game.
This is great, you know, I like to see unorthodox
Oh, me too.
ideas and...
And Hikaru has taken also a very creative approach. He said, knight E8. What is your knight going to do there? Ooh,
It's
We're about to find out.
H6. The bishop has to go all the way back to D2. Otherwise, there's a
What's the
there's
problem?
a traffic
What's the
jam,
problem?
right?
You can go to f.
Well,
E6,
I'm saying
F4.
if you go to F4, I'll go E6. And where does the knight go to?
Well, in fact, bishop has
And
gone to
then
d2.
Exactly. I thought it was going to have to go all the way back. Now I'm thinking Queen C1, just to lure the king to H7 before playing Queen C2.
And if I were to go direct with f4,
I like the direct approach as well. F4 is going to be met by E7, E6, and the knight will...
you could jump back to e3 and...
And then I'll play F5.
yeah.
Oh, I
No,
can't.
you cannot. You cannot.
Because
There's...
the knight on C6 would be hanging.
Yes.
This really
Good
reminds
morning,
me...
St. Louis.
This really reminds me of the game that Levon played against MVL, in which one side was just pushing the pawns on the king side, MVL trying to create counterplay on the queen side, turned very sharp, but that game was, despite ending in a draw, was mostly very good for Levon.
Right. He had the play, but it was a wonderful game, actually. Very hard-fought draw. And that did feature F4, as you were saying, Jovi. Levon going into a bit of a tank. Down.
Time difference, it's a minute and something now.
90 seconds to 7 seconds by Hikaru. Wow. A big thing here for Levon.
I can't say I like it. Especially to make such a natural move.
Yes.
F4 is something you can just throw on the board and think later.
Exactly.
Well, yeah. Especially if you're a close Sicilian player, hey, this is...
Let's go.
Let's go, yeah.
E6, knight E3.
Knight
Knight-
E7.
knight
Knight
E7.
E7 because he could not play the desirable F5.
Hikaru's
The
not
first
letting
prefaces.
off the gas.
But I would just be tempted just to throw it forward any... Although I do allow a knight to e...
So we've seen E6, knight E3, knight E7. Here I would be very tempted to
D4.
play D4, D3, D4, expanding in the center.
But that's more open Sicilian. If you're a close Sicilian player, hey, you're looking at f5, you're looking at g4.
And he has played
and
G4. And D5 on the
Wow.
board.
Trying
Okay,
to
things
transpose
are
into
definitely...
French.
Yes, we chose,
Wow.
we made the right pick.
Yes, we have.
Yes, considering the other games, definitely.
Right.
Very normal positions on the other boards, just very quickly update about equality.
Ooh, by the way, after this move A5, I really, really like White's position after D3, D4.
Yeah.
It's like a French where the bishop still on C8 has not gotten into the game
D3,
yet.
D4 indeed played.
Boy, the idea of bringing a knight to the magnificent outpost D4 is starting to rear its head. And he has captured on D4. Ooh, he recaptured with the pawn.
No, I like the idea of killing black on the king side, just preparing some
Knight
G4,
G3.
F5.
Knight G3
Knight
as
G3, F5.
Well, be
Yes.
careful. There is a queen B6. The the D4 pawn is vulnerable because the bishop is on D2. Maybe we start with bishop E1.
Aha.
In
Because
order to
if
play-
we jump to G3, then Queen B6,
I
And
was
then
even
there's-
thinking, yeah, bishop to g3, but I was
Well, the
also
way
thinking
Levon has
bishop
been
h4.
playing this tournament, just play f5.
Oh,
Wow,
F5.
that's like
Yeah,
that.
F5.
He just goes for it. f5, sacrifice everything on f5 and play knight g3.
Very dangerous. And Hikaru instantly replying with the move f6.
But
Wow.
Hikaru's doing something that he does best out of anybody I've ever seen. Look at that clock time.
Wow.
He
Huge.
knows-
2 minutes.
He knows that even if he's worse, if a very complicated position arises, it's difficult with 2 minutes to find precise moves.
Okay, but here's the challenge. What do you do as black? If you take on e5, there's captures on f8. You're almost obliged to recapture with the bishop.
But okay, bishop takes d6. I don't see quite what the
Bishop
problem.
Bishop takes
problem,
d6,
knight
knight
f4.
f4.
Queen b6 or d7.
No issues there
I
on the light squares.
Just capture of the bishop.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
No, you can't.
take on e6 and queen b3?
Queen b3, you'd
Queen
love
takes
it.
g4. Oh, sorry.
No.
I'm going to take on g4 when you take on d5 is what I mean.
Right. You need me to make a move.
Yes.
after. So knight e6, queen b3, king
King
h7.
h7 or something like this.
And you're ready to trade the d5 pawn for the g4 pawn.
Yes.
Okay.
It's still double-edged, I think.
Totally. I do like white's
I like
position,
white.
however.
I really.
That bishop on g2 is really looking
What
good.
I'm not liking is Levon's clock.
Nobody
time,
likes
you know,
the Levon's
one-
clock. Yeah,
1 minute,
that is
just
an
over
issue.
1 minute and a half.
And he has
I was
played
thinking, he's played queen b3.
at once, not capturing on e6. So Hikaru with a huge time advantage on the clock,
Rook d8.
Rook d8.
just protecting the pawn on d5, pardon me.
I mean, Yasser, I understand
Yes.
why black has some issues, but look at white's position. E5
Exactly.
hanging. You
Little-
cannot really take on f6 and ever claim an advantage. My knight just jumps back into the game.
Right, this knight on e8 currently very passive. What any trade will see that knight spring forward.
I don't like that clock. I have to agree with Joey 100%. 1 minute for Levon and counting. This is already very
Let's-
dangerous territory.
Yes. Was if Levon were to panic in a middle game position, that's it. I think it's over. There's no way. I think it's
With the
one thing
clock.
to panic in an ending where it's relatively straightforward, but in a complicated middle game,
40 seconds.
40 seconds,
40
yeah.
seconds.
he needs to
Yeah.
hurry.
And we have seen captures on f6. Knight takes f6 is going to come instantly by Hikaru. And again, the clock. Wow. Just a huge differential.
Just such a difference.
30,
Yeah.
31.
I'm going to have to...
Oh,
Also, g4 is now hanging.
I mean, you can't allow
He's
yourself
got
to have a
23
sixth of the time
seconds.
as your
No.
opponent.
look at this.
No,
20
the-
seconds.
This is what makes
Come on.
Hikaru such a beast. And Blitz and Bullet, he is so fast and tactically so aware. Rook e1, challenging the e file, threatening knight f5, discovered attacks,
Yes.
as well as knight d5.
So knight e4, the natural blockading move, I don't think is possible because of knight takes.
Exactly. With or without
D5.
rook takes f8 check, too. Yeah, knight e4. The knight would be protected by the pawn, but
But
knight
he
takes-
asked the
Okay.
question, and that's the thing. He takes the time to calculate it when he can. Knight takes g4. He says, this
Why-
tactically
why-
works somehow. I'm trying to figure out how, but queen takes, I'm assuming rook takes g7, rook takes e7.
Rook takes e7,
And
yeah.
now, how does
That's
this
right.
work?
17 seconds.
How does this
There-
work for white, for black?
Exactly.
No
Bishop
idea.
Takes,
Okay, so bishop takes d4.
And
I
rook
have to-
f1.
No, I have to play bishop e3, Yasser.
Right.
If I play king h1, then yes, rook
Rook
f1
F1
is
and-
checkmate.
and then Queen G1
Queen
checkmate.
G1 checkmate.
But if I play bishop takes d4, bishop e3, what is the follow-up?
Queen,
I'm
Queen
thinking.
Queen g5.
He's played queen takes.
He's
That says to me
Uh,
that there was an oversight in those tactics. And
Well, he
now
has to
13
defend,
seconds.
He has
Just
to
playing
defend
for the
against
clock.
Queen e1 check.
a
and
big double attack threat of
Rook.
queen e1 check, winning.
Oh, he just
winning-
blundered that bishop.
Yes.
There's no reason to do that.
Yes,
He's on 11
blundered.
seconds. This is just
Now it's over.
no. It's
Even with the
Hikaru
opposite colored
survived.
bishops, no, the clock, the differential of the clock is just too great, I believe. So here I'm thinking we take and play queen f2, queen c1, hitting the bishop, hitting the pawn on b2.
It's 7 seconds, 10 seconds.
Well, it also in these bishops of opposite color, it's about king safety, and here we can clearly see that black's king.
Hikaru is, I mean, Levon's desperately trying just to attack on do something on g6, but
Right, king h7 is safety move, and no
okay,
doubt.
now he can just improve his and then threaten to play a. There's no time.
Yeah, I was about to say that the pawn on h4 is now a prime target for the bishop.
There's too many points to defend. You know, he has to defend against a5, a4.
This should be easy, especially with the clock. But there was a hesitation there. What was that about, Alejandro?
I'm not really sure. Queen f6 seemed like a perfectly good move to me. He would have always got into this position anyway, right?
Exactly.
Queen f6, queen f3.
Now, here's a question.
Can I trade queens, right?
Yes. Good. Ooh!
Blunder that?
He blundered a pawn.
Oh, but he
blundered the bishop.
No, but e5 is hanging.
E5 is hanging. So where can we go with the king?
King
3
F1.
6 seconds.
And e5, the bishop on e5 is hanging, as is the bishop on c2.
Oof, this got crazy,
6
but this should be
seconds.
okay. This should be completely okay for white.
Oh, with no time on the
Careless.
clock, and
Careless, you mean-
blundering here and there. This is Blitz. This queen f3 check too.
Not to mention, guys, Sergei Karyakin has won.
Ooh.
Sergei has beaten Vishy Anand.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't see a killing blow.
What about the move queen f3 check? He has played queen c4 check.
How do I defend? Bishop
He's
d4
bishop
check, king
d4 check.
h1. Notice that if I take on c2, this is very important. Queen e7 is an immediate draw.
I'm just letting that sit in the. Why?
Was not a perpetual?
No.
Why not?
King h6, queen g5, king h7. I have bishop g7.
Oh, I
That's
missed
it.
that. I missed that.
Yeah, you
Levon
so
missed
did
that. I think everybody.
Well, you're at least as good as Levon.
Yes.
Alejandro. That's